Hey, and welcome back to Ontario Cryptids. I'm going to start off by saying, wow, you guys blew it up. If you recall, I challenged you all to see if we can get 35 likes by tomorrow. I'm thrilled and happy to say you responded to my challenge, and we got 43 likes as of right now. So thank you, and thank you. The likes really help getting my videos out to the masses. So, do you think we can get 40 likes by next week? Well, let's see. Also, if you guys like, I can continue to do the shout outs to those who comment on my videos on a frequent basis. So let me know if you want me to continue to do that. And if so, we will start with episode 40. So that brings us to today's stories of 4 eyewitness accounts, 3 of which occur while driving and all happen in 2020. If these stories remind you of an encounter you may have had, then forward your encounter stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com. Alrighty everyone, you know what to do now. Go grab your favorite beverage or snack and sit back and relax. This first story takes place on October 5th, 2020, in Wright County, Missouri. All right, so the witness gives her name as well as the exact location that this sighting takes place. I'm going to leave that out. So she starts off by saying, and like I said, I'm not going to say the full name, so I'm just going to use the first initial. I'm G, and I'm from Grosse Springs. About 9:30 to 10:30 a.m., I left my house and I was headed to the town of Lebanon, Missouri. It was a beautiful day, and I just passed a junction, driving about 40 miles an hour. As I looked to my left, there stood a huge Bigfoot. The Bigfoot was somewhere in the neighborhood of 9 to 10 feet tall with reddish-brown hair. The shoulders were 3 to 5 feet wide, and it was at least as wide as 2 grown men standing next to each other, so somewhere in that measurement range. His arms hung to his side. His hands were long enough to go past his hips and below the knees. Stunning creature. As I passed, he had already cleared the tree line, stood as to look back and forth for traffic. We locked eyes and looked at each other. His head followed me till I was past him. The eyes were deep brown and huge. I looked in my rearview mirror, and the creature cleared the entire 2-lane highway in 2 steps and disappeared into the woods. I estimated it took a 6-foot stride. He wasn't startled. He just stood there as if he knew me. I felt no fear at all, and the creature was not menacing or making any overt threatening movements towards me. I smelt a musty odor in the air. He definitely was an alpha male. No fear, about 9 feet tall and huge. If I would have stopped, I feel like I could have shook his hands. I didn't have time to take a photo, but I keep my phone on camera from now on. It was a daytime sighting, beautiful, sunny, and the temperature was about 68 degrees. 2 days later, my daughter and her partner were coming home from work. As they turned south onto our road, they said they looked out at the corner of their eyes and saw 4 eyes glowing yellow hunkered down on the side of the road. All right, this was a beautiful description, and I love the fact that it wasn't at nighttime. Nobody can say she didn't see what she saw because it was beautiful daytime sunny weather. And as I read down, it says she was, they locked eyes, they were about 12 to 15 feet away from each other. And at that point, she was driving really slow. So she had reduced her speed even more as they had locked eyes. Incredible. But let's move on to story number 2. All right, this story is also in October. This one takes place on October 23rd of 2020 in Parker County, Texas. All right, so I am going to change the name because I'm not sure if I have permission to use his name. Anyways, here is Ricky's story. Hello, my name is Ricky. On Friday the 23rd of October 2020, my wife and I were seeing if a restaurant in Texas was open so we could have lunch. It was around 1 p.m. The name of the restaurant is called the Catfish Cafe, located just west of Weatherford, Texas, on Interstate Highway 20, right next to the Brazos River. When we arrived at the restaurant, there was only one worker, and he told us that the restaurant would not open until 4 p.m. So my wife and I decided to drive around the countryside in that area and kill some time until 4 p.m. Immediately just west of the restaurant, about 50 yards or so, is a bridge that goes across the Brazos River. We headed across the bridge and stopped in the center of the bridge to look at the river and the surrounding scenery. That's when we spotted a huge dark figure in the river, wading in the water around ankle deep. This thing was about a quarter mile north from the bridge. At first, we thought it could be a man that was kicking the water, chasing a possible fish or something. But looking at the object a little closer, we knew that it was not a man because it was dark, tall, and hairy. We believe that it was a Bigfoot looking for his meal. We stayed there on the bridge for a good 5 minutes as no cars were coming. We drove around for a while after that and came back to the restaurant at about 3:45 p.m., stopping again on the bridge to see if that thing was still there. It wasn't. So we then got our food to go and went back home to our house in Weatherford. This is the first time that I have told my incident. I would like to also mention that I've worked in the oil fields for many years and saw other Bigfoots close to the Brazos River between Lippin and Morgan Mills, Texas, and smelled another along the Brazos River near Grandsbury, Texas. It smelled like dirty mop dipped in dung. Well, it looks like you guys weren't the only ones hungry for fish that day, but great story. And it seems like you've had multiple encounters, not just this one. And it seems to be all along that same river. So very interesting. Anyways, let's move on to the next story. Okay, so this encounter takes place on September 26, 2020, in Woodstock County. The nearest town location is Bryant Pond. I had my sighting yesterday in Oxford County, Maine. I was in the power lines clearing that runs through a friend's land, cutting a downed tree out of the ATV trail. I was with two friends who asked me how far the land goes and if anyone lives down there. They had been looking 1,000 yards down the power lines, eyes fixed in a stare. I looked up to see what they were looking at, and at about 200 yards down the power line, we see a massive bipedal creature walking towards us. It stopped when it noticed us and took a fast left turn into the woods. From the power lines to the road is roughly 400 feet to the woods, and has a trail about 30 feet behind where we saw the creature that goes straight to the road. I jumped on my four-wheeler and made a straight shot down that trail to the road to try and get a closer view. It was completely gone. The creature made it 400 feet through the woods and across the road, out of sight in less than 2 minutes. While investigating the sand on the side of the road for prints, we heard a short howl followed by 2 sets of tree knocks. Wow. The creature's speed does not surprise me at all. But what does surprise me is the fact that you jumped on your ATV to see if you can get a closer look. I definitely would not have done that. All right, let's move on to the next story. Okay, so this is going to be the last story of the day. So this one takes place on October 22nd, 2020, in James City County, Virginia. My 2 boys, ex-husband and I were heading back to our hotel from dinner in Williamsburg on the evening of October 22nd, 2020. I took a left turn onto E. Rochambeau Drive, which parallels Interstate 64. It was a clear night, dark, and around 8:55 p.m. I know that it was after 8:50 and before 9 p.m. because I was hoping to get back to watch the 9 p.m. debate. My son made a comment about my speed, and I pointed out a 55 miles per hour speed limit sign as we passed it. I rounded a corner and saw a brief small glitter, which led my eyes to see movement. I could tell that it was an upright bipedal figure. As it walked quickly from right to left, I could see that it walked like a human, but it was extremely broad and huge. The arms and upper thighs were so big that I could see the entire outline of muscles. The figure was blacker than black, almost looking like an enormous shadow figure, but solid. My lights only revealed blackness, no clothes, just one solid figure. I could see from the middle of the face and most of the legs. I saw no features as it was walking, only showing its side to me. It moved smoothly and quickly. I could not see its feet or the top of its head. It happened so quickly that I didn't have time to say, "Look," to my family, who was with me. As soon as it stepped off to the side, I immediately said, "What was that?" I was curious to where it went, and as I passed the area, I could see that it went into the woods. There were no cars, people, or anyone else on the road. There was one house a little further down the road that had a porch light on. I keep trying to understand the distance from my car to the area it walked into the woods, trying to understand the height. What I saw was huge. No way could any human be as huge, tall, and broad as this. Again, it was black, so black, and my lights didn't reveal details, which is odd. My children were completely freaked out, so I didn't stop. I've returned twice to the area to look at the road and surroundings. I wonder what the glimmer of light was. Was it the house in the distance with the porch light on and just the way the creature walked across the road, blocking the porch light? That was never really elaborated on, but that's the curious part. That little light, that little glimmer. Anyways, these were 4 great stories. The majority of them were in vehicles other than the one, all in 2020, which I find fascinating because I think I mentioned in a previous video a while back that I think we're going to be seeing more sightings in 2020 just because we're not out and about because of the COVID pandemic. Anyways, that's going to be it for today. If any of these stories have sparked any memories of anything that you have encountered, please forward your encounter stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com. I hope you all enjoyed these stories, and we will see you all next week.